We got back, and I was fumbling through my stuff just to see if I could come across something that seemed worthy of the moment. And this was an article in the Sunday Times way back in February, and it came out of the heart mind of a fellow named Joe Hoffman, who is a minister of the First Congregational Church. Let me get that right. First Congregational United Church of Asheville. And the whole tenor of his piece was how much he loves Asheville. It was just a delight, and I was reminded of Paul's teaching in Philippians. You remember that one where he said, whatsoever things are just and beautiful and loving and of good report, and think on these things, and that hearkened me back to it. And specifically, one of the ideas that the good Reverend Hoffman brought out was contained in this statement where he said, I love Asheville. I love that I have had the great privilege to live here most of my life. He was born here in Asheville. I love that Asheville has had the courage to change in ways that embrace the great diversity of all God's people. I love that I can and do count as my friends people who are like me and people who are very different from me. I love living in a place that affords me so many different kinds of social interactions and relationships. And I have a dream for this city, the city I love so much. I dream that whenever any one of us loses our job, loses our health, loses our house or dwelling place, loses our way or dream, our hope, that we will be a city that still embraces all of its people. And I offer a dream that says, let's be a city that makes sure that not one of us falls through the cracks of life and loses our human rights or our human dignity. I love Asheville, and this is my dream. And is that beautiful or what? And sometimes it's really hard, isn't it, to articulate exactly what our dream looks like in the flesh when it's out there on the pavement where the rubber meets the road. What's all of this about? We sit here in our churches and we listen to teachings and scriptures, and where does it all come out finally? And I would love to believe that because we gather here together, each of us is becoming far more committed to bringing this kind of humanity into every moment we encounter that life out there on the streets of our city. And we bring that. It comes out of a deep understanding of the one thing that Jesus suggested would be the mark of our relationship with him. And remember when he said, they shall know you are my disciples by your love for one another. And love is far more than a word. Love is a mystical presence that shows up in our lives in very concrete forms, the kind of forms that the good minister, Joe Hoffman, acknowledged. A city that embraces all of its people, that works together as businesses, residents, faith communities, and social services, healthcare organizations to assure that all our people know that they matter to us. They shall know you are my disciples by your love for each other. And that love has got to manifest. Imagine, if you will, imagine what would have happened if every Christian and Jew in this land had called to remind them of this commandment recorded in the Old Testament book of Deuteronomy. The prophet in that case encouraged us to remember, for the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I, and that's God talking in this case, I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hands unto thy brother, to thy poor and to thy needy in thy land. Any question about what that means? No question at all. Absolutely not. And if that didn't get the job done, a legislator would have to be totally clue deficient to ignore Luke's injunction. When thou makest a feast, he wrote, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind. Remember when Jesus found himself way out in the wilderness with 5,000 hungry pilgrims, a few loaves of bread and a couple of fish. He did not feed some of them. He fed all of them. and there was leftover. There was leftover. Always there will be. In an age of unchallenged capitalism, an awakened religious community's greatest responsibility may be to provide an alternative set of economic values. In the 1980s, for example, when the Catholic Church did speak out on economic issues, it offered one of the most profound challenges to conservative economic doctrine and its celebration of profits and wealth as the end-all be-all of human activity. In the week after Ronald Reagan's landslide re-election in 1984, the National Conference of Catholic Bishops released the first draft of their pastoral letter on the economy. It was a chastening statement of a moving, beautifully written guide to Catholics trying to live their faith in the marketplace. The bishops wrote to provide guidance for members of their own church. No one may claim the name Christian and be comfortable in the face of hunger, hopelessness, insecurity, and the injustice found in this country and around the world. But the bishops also wrote to help shape the public debate on the economy. Every economic decision and institution, they insisted, must be judged in light of whether it protects or undermines the dignity of the human person. How's that for a criteria? How's your economy going? Gee, I don't know. Let me check. Let me see the degree to which it preserves and protects the dignity of the human being. Or as the good Joe said, let's make sure that everybody out there has at least got a place to go to the bathroom. At least the bare minimums. To each his own, that's for sure. But many entitlement programs, for sure, have outlived their usefulness and need to be revamped or retired. An enlightened coalition of religious progressives could help facilitate the process by encouraging its members to honor the prime directive of their faith by getting actively involved in establishing programs or personal initiatives dedicated to ending human suffering whenever and wherever it becomes evident. Since leaving the presidency, for example, Jimmy Carter's brokered peace. He's founded a center to work for democracy and lent his name and hands to Habitat for Humanity. His example of a private citizen acting on his faith calls to action, and his activity after being president may prove to be a more lasting legacy than his presidency was. I'm sure the point is clear. Our God assignment is tough, but it's not a mission impossible. It's a simple call to feed the flock, to heal the sick, to give the blind vision. It's an invitation engraved on every soul to experience the grace implicit in every act of selfless service. The richness of our lives is not to be found in the barren landscapes of acquisition and accumulation, but rather in our deepening commitment to the well-being of all God's creation. As Mother Teresa put it, our ordinary duty is to be holy. So I would encourage us to stifle our talk about ending our collective efforts to respond to human need and suffering on a national basis simply because our efforts to date have not solved all our problems. That sounds to me like suggesting we should scrap the Gospels because the Golden Rule hasn't caught on completely quite yet. Keep the faith, beloved unitics. Keep the faith. And remember, inasmuch as you serve the least of our brothers and sisters, so you invoke the eternal spirit of Christ's compassion and bring delight to the great heart of our beloved elder brother and way shower. Rest easy in that grace and know that you are indeed part of that family. Thank you for being part of my family all these years. Bless you all.